welcome back to another incredible episode of Destination Morocco podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the current situation globally, which is the travel during the war between US and Iran, and is Morocco safe? A lot of people ask. In the past, they used to ask, hey, is Morocco safe for solo travelers, for female travelers? But now, with everything that is happening, a lot of people are asking, actually, is it safe for us to go to Morocco? What would happen if we're going to Morocco? Do we need to cancel our booking? Do we need to cancel our tour? Do we need to reschedule? Do we need to, do something else? So, and that's why, again, we have Ted with us today. Ted, welcome back to the podcast. And in this episode, we're going to answer some or most of the questions that you probably have lingering about the current state of Morocco in terms of safety and traveling to Morocco. Ted, welcome back to your podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, this is a prescient topic for sure. We realized the last, little while that it was something we needed to talk about and address. And I think particularly geared towards people who've already booked a tour or who have been pretty serious about thinking, of going to Morocco, in the sense that they're that much further along kind of the planning process, right? Like you're either committed to go or you're pretty serious about going this year. And so, we need to address really what's happening. I mean, we can't ignore the state of the world, and there's conflict happening. And of course, you as Dean, you're getting questions about it. So let's talk about that and give people as much peace of mind as we can. I mean, and no one can give 100%, but we want to give you some clear information, give you options, and get you as prepared as possible. And then, if you decide to continue to go, which we think you should at this point, I mean, that's part of it. Things could change. We never know. We're talking here, it's early April 2026. And of course, if we need to do more updates, over the coming weeks and months, then we will. But at least it stands right now. This is our perspective on it. And if you do decide to still go, we want to just give you that peace of mind and confidence, really, that, you can go and feel safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, let's get a little bit of background. I mean, I know a lot of the questions come back to, just how close is Morocco to the conflict? And, is there any chance that that part of the world could get kind of roped in and tied up in what's happening? And, unless people look at maps and are interested in geography and stuff, it may be hard to kind of grasp just the placement, right? How close is Morocco to the Middle East? And is there really any direct threat, most likely, all things considered?
That's a really, really good question, Ted. Morocco is 3,000 miles away from the conflict. So the conflict is in the Middle East, Morocco is in Africa. So I know for some people they know exactly the locations, but for a lot of people they actually don't know. They just think Morocco, it's a Muslim country, it is automatically in the Middle East, but it's not, it's in North Africa. So we are the closest point to Spain, to Europe. It is 3,000 miles away. There's no direct threat of the war in Morocco or to Morocco at this point. So when you go to Morocco, it's just business as usual. It's very busy. It's very happening. It's just incredible. So you cannot even tell that there's something that terrible is happening at the same time somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine it'd be the same essentially as if you're in Europe, pretty much anywhere in Europe, and we all know what's happening, but it's not right on the doorstep, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And let's talk a bit about, Morocco and relations with United States and Iran, and, a little bit of the background to that. I mean, Morocco's been a long-time ally of the United States. You often point out they were the first country to recognize the United States.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Morocco is the first country to recognize United States as independent country. And this is back, going against France and England at the time, and everybody knows how powerful they were back then. So it was a major turning point, and that relationship still stands. We're still allies almost 250 years later. So we have very good relationship with the U.S. and always have been. And also there's a presence in the US in Morocco all the time. There's always open communication. And, last time we talked about the African Cup of Nations in Morocco, and we talked about that Morocco invited the FBI, to the stadium, to the tournament, to see in terms of security, organization of the tournament, because the United States is going to be organizing the 2026 World Cup. It's actually in a few months, so summertime. So they needed to get some ideas and things like that. So Morocco is pretty safe. It is one of the safest countries in Africa. And it's still a beautiful destination. It's very diverse. If you have a chance to go see it, go for it. So in Morocco, again, they have actually military bases in Morocco, but you're not going to see them. They are really invisible. When you travel by them, everything is underground. There's no building, there's no door, nothing. It's just everything is built underground. So it's really, really safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's a common thing in the United States and other allies, I guess, too. They have bases, joint bases and stuff in countries all around the world. So that is a fairly common thing. People, I'm sure, somewhat familiar with the nature of Islam and Shia, Sunni split, the different parts of Islam. Morocco is which?
Sunni.
Mm-hmm. And Iran is Shia.
Shia, yes, that is correct, yes. It's like cats and dogs. Historically, there has always been a conflict, since, for 1,500 years, the Shia and the Muslims, they're each other's number one enemies. For us, it doesn't change. Iran is not our friend. We've talked a little bit about this earlier, but when you look at the relationship between the Kingdom of Morocco and then the Kingdom of Iran before the Khamenei regime, we had very good relationship. Even though we are two different sects of Islam, very different, we had very good relationship. The king at the time had a really good relationship with the king and the queen and the family. But then after 1979, everything changed for many reasons. And one of the biggest reasons is Iran tried to influence Morocco and come into Morocco indirectly and start doing some things that, they rubbed Morocco the wrong way. And since then, the relationship has not been good at all. So,
yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, we don't want to get into a lot of the nuanced detail history here, but, people will be wondering, well, what is the difference? And if they're aware of course, that, I mean, you're talking centuries of as you say, cats and dogs, right? Yes. and disagreements, etc. It's just important to be aware, right? Now, all that being said, I mean, we don't really see things trickling over to Morocco as things stand right now, and we're not saying that it's going to. We just have to be conscious and aware that things can change. That's all. But
absolutely,
there's a lot happening now, and you can certainly argue that, well, at least the last 40 plus years, I mean, Iran and Morocco have coexisted, and they haven't gone after each other in an outright way. So it's just something to be aware of. We all know the differences between the two. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. How does Morocco balance being a close, if to the extent that that a close U.S. ally while keeping its own Arab and Muslim identity? Do you know how they kind of play out amongst the neighbors in that part of the world?
It's really a tough spot to be in, because myself, I asked that question quite a bit, many times, especially looking at some, close conflict to Morocco or, far conflict to Morocco. The country has always made the right decision, sometimes being just neutral, sometimes taking a side, sometimes just not saying anything. It's political, basically. So, and Morocco has been really good in terms of choosing the right sides and who to support, who not to support, and stuff like that.
I think there's something to be said, too. It may sound a little superficial, but honestly, it's a question of geography. I mean, Morocco's Northwest Africa, it's in the edge of Europe. It's just that much removed from the heart of a lot of these conflicts. There's deeper ties to Europe. It's kind of the first stop in Africa from North America, right, if people are flying over. And for what it's worth, I think that helps just a little bit of that separation, whether it's political kind of independence and stuff you're not totally wrapped in, or as travelers that, you're on the fringe of a lot of this conflict, even though it's still exotic, it's still exciting, it's still different. But we've always talked about that on this show, how Morocco is a really, really fascinating bridge, right, between kind of the Western world, Europeans and so on, and then Africa and the Arab world and all of that too. It's really interesting. Yeah. Really, well, let's bring it back to travelers. I mean, this is what we're here for. So if if you're in Morocco, I mean, is there any actual danger versus what might just feel dangerous? How can someone really identify that? What should they look for?
I would say there's really no danger, and it's hard to tell and to look for something when it's really not there. You can see the body language, you can see, how people talk to you, treat you, but it's not there. Especially for tourists, Morocco is very protective when it comes to tourists, because we understand the value of tourism and the value of travelers to Morocco. And the other thing is, with us, there's always somebody with you. There's a local person with you, so they understand the language. They understand, the language or the threat of a language, even though you may not understand it. They will feel that something is about to go wrong, and you always have somebody with you. So,
will people see, maybe right now already? Do you think they'll see more police, more checkpoints, and surveillance?
Well, there has always been more checkpoints. If you remember when you went back in 2022, in less than half a mile, there's a checkpoint. There's police, sprinters, and presence. When you go to the airport, you'll see a little bit of the army. Then between city to city, there's checkpoints. Now this is the regular days. Now with the conflict happening 30,000 miles away, I'm sure it's probably going to be doubled. Because again, I was there in '91. I was there during the Gulf War, and I remember those days very vividly. And the army presence was everywhere. And I remember because where I live, there's an indoor basketball arena next to us, and the army, they just took over, and that's what they literally stayed there for months. So everything was canceled, the games, everything, and that's where they stayed. So it was very heavy, but now it's not. There's no signs of any of that happening in Morocco, of any of that being seen in Morocco. So it's just, in terms of, if you go to Morocco right now, it's just business as usual. People are having good time. They are just enjoying themselves, immersing themselves in the experiences. Good. You cannot tell that there's a conflict somewhere else. So
yeah, that's good. That's what we want to hear. Will there be any difference in just how you might feel, or maybe how people might be perceiving you, do you think?
Not at all. That's what a lot of people, I hear this especially from Americans, people don't like us. No, people love you. And I'm just going to say this in the most positive way. Moroccans, they love tourists, but they love especially Americans because they tip more. So it's, the perception that you have in your head that, the people don't like you and they don't want you. No, of course they do. They, and you can see it in the hospitality. You can see it even with or without the money, honestly. People, in Morocco, they're very welcoming, very hospitable. And it doesn't matter, you have money or you don't have money, you're still welcome in Morocco. But they know that the Americans are more hospitable when it comes to their generosity and tipping and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and again, there's long history there of good relations, so that helps.
Absolutely.
And let's talk a bit about cancellations. In the sense, if there was flight cancellations or airspace closures, is there any precedent for that? Maybe in Morocco, do you know what that might look like if it happens? First
time we've seen it, it's all of us have seen it in the pandemic. And a lot of people, they got stuck in Morocco. Some for a few days, some for a few weeks. But you can plan better for you not to get stuck, not just in Morocco, but anywhere else. And I remember during the pandemic, some cruise lines, they were stranded, in the oceans, and some started getting the virus, while they're on the ship, and some were able to be evacuated, and some were not being able to evacuate. And the reason is, it's the travel insurance. So it's really, really, really important, Ted. When you travel, you must have your travel insurance because it protects your investment. Going to Morocco is not cheap. It's not cheap. Going to Morocco is not cheap. I have to say that again, because you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars, especially if it's family of 4 or 6 or 8. It adds up. So protect your investment. Get travel insurance. And I get this question all the time. Say, oh no, I have Amex. I have my insurance to my credit card. It's not the same. So when you have insurance to your credit card, it will cover. Yes, it has cover, but then the coverage that you'll get is really, really minimal comparing to a travel insurance that's specialized just in travel, and that's all they do. There are a few really good companies to choose from, and I remember one of them at the time, it was Alliance, which we use quite a bit. The other one is Chubb. I'm just saying their names. I don't recommend any of them, but I worked with Alliance for quite some time, and one of the biggest differences when you're looking or shopping for travel insurance is cancel for any reasons. And that's the reason why, a lot of people got stuck because they did not have that coverage for evacuation, for example. I remember at that time, Alliance had, I think it covers up to, $500,000 or so, because helicopters were going to go dispatched to those ships to bring people back to shores. And it cost about $80,000 per person. Wow. So people who had travel insurance and they have that option included, it was a breeze. It was perfect. But the ones they didn't, they had to stay in the ship until the ship came back to shore. So it does make a huge difference. It's worth the investment. Now, there's few options, and it just, depending on the age, pre-existing conditions, and also cancel for any reason. See what's covered, because sometimes you miss your flight, then you're still covered. Including your luggage and all that stuff. You have jury duty, then you're still covered. There's so many details, but just a little bit of homework when it comes to that, because it's absolutely worth it.
Now, do you know how it works, the travel insurance, and like dedicated ones, not credit card ones, but like a good policy? How do they approach basically war in times of conflict? That's
a good question. I honestly don't know the answer to it. But in that case, you're looking for something to be evacuated, and they have evacuation, it's included. So just look at your package. I know, when you go with Alliance, they'll give you like a simple package. They'll give you a premium package, and they'll say, hey, this covers, for example, $1 million. This one covers $2 million, and this is what's included, and all the coverage. So you're good. That's a question. I'm not insurance, specialist, but I don't want to give the wrong answer to the audience or get myself in trouble. But I will say, just get in touch with them. Look at 2 or 3 insurance companies and just ask. Get a comparison, so that way you know which one is better for you, for your investment, and if it's you're traveling by yourself, you and your family, and so forth. So,
yeah. And let's talk a bit about registering with the embassy.
Oh, that's really important. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's the STEP program, and you can register. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's smart travel program, and I think you go to step.state.gov and register with the embassy, and that way they know your location while you're in Morocco. If something happens, they know. They have, for example, let's say 2,000 Americans in Morocco, and they need to evacuate 2,000 people. So that way you're counted for.
Right.
Also, before you travel, have a printed copy of your passport with a family member, a printed copy of your itinerary with a friend or a family member. The same thing, have, copies on your phone, have them, hard copies with you as well. And then, give them our phone number, that way they can get in touch with us. In case they can't get in touch with you, they can get in touch with us. In case communication is interrupted, or God forbid something happens. So always share those information with your friends and family before you go to Morocco. And then when you go to Morocco, we stay in touch with you. I may not call you or text you every day, but I'm aware of everything that is happening on your daily itinerary, changes and things, so I'm aware of all those things. So
yeah. Okay, good. I want to ask you too about let's say airspace is closed for whatever reason. And even just in general, maybe it's good to know what are other options for basically getting out of Morocco.
Oh, that's a good question. You can get out of Morocco, through, different spots to Europe, especially, Spain, Italy, France, through ships. You could go through Tangier. That's the quickest way to get to Europe. I think they have 2 or 3 ports that will take you to Spain. So that's another way to get out of the country, just in case if the airspace is closed.
Yeah. So this is it. These are, I mean, obviously we hope it doesn't come to that. And the odds are that it won't. But, we want to give people this kind of information just for some peace of mind. So you know that there are options. You're not going to be completely stranded and you can't get out of the country kind of thing. So, yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, and that comes back to the geography, the placement. I mean, how long's that ferry ride from Tangier to Spain?
It's 45 minutes.
Or something? 45 minutes. There you go.
No, 45 minutes. It's very close. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and let's bring it back to for a traveler who may thinking they want to cancel now, and of course it's up to them. But what's kind of the realistic chance that they're overreacting?
Very likely. Very highly, because the media, and me, I complain about the media all the time. So I understand the concerns, but people are just scared. They're scared of what they don't know. They're scared of the destination. You tell people Africa, they're automatically scared. You tell me it's a Muslim country, it's like, oh no, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. So we've heard this throughout the episodes, Ted, with everybody that we have hosted and have gone with us. There's perception versus the reality are two completely different things. So, it is normal to be scared. It is normal to feel, hey, I want to cancel. It is normal to always almost cancel it and not cancel it. But if you decide to cancel it, you can still cancel it. It's not an issue for us at all. So, but I just want to give people, the listeners, a little bit of what happened in the past. If you look at the pandemic, which is really a really good example, when you look at the airlines, United, American, they did not issue any refunds. All they did is future bookings. Because of the pandemic, if they have issued refunds, they will absolutely go bankrupt. Yeah. And then it's just the effect of it, the economy, the country it's just devastating. So the same thing with the cruise lines. They were issuing what we call FCC, Future Cruise Credit, and you can book it a year later, 2 years later. It doesn't really matter, and you don't lose the value of your tour or cruise and stuff like that. So Morocco did the same thing literally during the pandemic, to save the industry. And even then, the tourism industry was devastated. Even though the government was helping, with a little bit that they could, it was still, the effect of it was just terrible. So in this year, we have not seen that. I don't think we're going to get to that level, but the government can actually say, hey, we're not going to issue any refunds. We're just going to do future credits. But in my case, it has not happened because we're not really directly affected. If this was 1991 and seeing things that I have seen back then, definitely it would have been, no refunds. Yeah, there will be no refunds, just future bookings. So we are actually in the process of issuing a refund to four people from Australia. It's really, really unfortunate. They're traveling through Qatar it's really, really unfortunate, but that's the only case of refunds that we have so far.
That's tricky, yeah. Depends on the situation. If you're coming from Australia, New Zealand, you probably would have a flight that went through Qatar or Dubai or something like that.
Absolutely. And it's very challenging. It really is.
Yeah, everyone has their own particular situation. Well, I want to wrap up. We had a list of a handful of kind of rapid fire questions, but things that are really practical and relatable. So would ATMs still work during a crisis, and how much cash should people carry on them, even in general?
Oh, that's a good question. The ATM, typically in Morocco, they are different than the US. They are not filled with cash. They just have a little bit of cash. It sounds different, unexpected, but that's how it is. Sometimes even in the weekends, they run out of cash for 2 days, for a couple of days. So, throughout the episode, you'll hear me say, you want to use an ATM machine, use it early in the morning. That's the best way. But in this case, yes, you can still get cash. You can still, always have cash with you. Not so much of it though, but you can still utilize the ATMs. So,
okay. What's the most important app to have on your phone?
Well, that's a really it's a loaded question. There's so many. I would say stay in touch with your family and friends. directly. WhatsApp is big in Morocco. We utilize WhatsApp more than any other form of communication in Morocco, even in between, local calls. So people use WhatsApp quite a bit, and we use it here as communication as well. In terms of transportation, when you're with us, you're good. When you're on your own, then there's few apps. Uber is back in Morocco for sure. It's when I was there in November, they started in Casablanca, and I'm sure they have a plan to expand to other major cities like Marrakesh, Fes, and Rabat, and so forth. But then there's other apps in Morocco that they are not here in the US, at least not that I'm aware of. I've used InDrive, but InDrive, it's a little bit tricky. Use it with caution, because in Morocco it's still considered a little bit illegal, and the taxis, they just frown upon it and they don't like it, and if they see you riding an InDrive, they can call the cop, and you'll be okay, but they'll give him a ticket.
Is InDrive like a booking app, or is it a company?
It's similar to Uber.
Okay.
So it's similar to Uber, but it's very tricky the way that they have it set up. The government sets it up for you, but then they consider it illegal, and then so it just go figure. So that's Morocco.
Right. Well. Good question though. If you are on your own and you need transport, at least locally, who do you call? Where do you go first? Presumably a taxi or something. Yes,
there's a service called Taxi Vert, which is green taxi. They have a number that you call, and they'll dispatch the taxi to your location. It doesn't matter where it is. You pay $1.50, I think $1.50 extra during the day, or probably $2 or $2.50 extra a night time. But they're very, very reliable. Those are real taxi cabs, but they just have that little bit extra service, extra attention, and they're really good. And they have to have certain ratings to be able to do that the Taxi Vert. The other apps InDrive, but again, it's very questionable at the moment. It's not fully legal in Morocco, but you can still use it. If you're in a major city, you can use Uber. And I know there's another app called Kareem or something in Morocco, which you can use. So in terms of apps and transportation in Morocco, you have few options. So, but the first one that I would recommend is the green taxi.
Right. Good. Yeah. Okay. And what about, would you say maybe for the question of security and peace of mind, is there any difference between staying at an international chain hotel, and you might be familiar with the brand, you may have like a loyalty membership or something like that, versus staying at a riad, which of course we always recommend. But security, peace of mind, do you think there's any considerations there?
That's a really good question. It really depends. I would say when you're staying with a hotel brand, let's say for example the Marriott, or there's, by the way, we did an episode a while back, and there are over 200 luxury brands of hotels and accommodations in Morocco. So there's an advantage when you stay with the brand because of the protection, because of the flexibility, because of all things that they can do for you. And that's one of the good reasons. Now, staying at a riad, it's a little bit different. They may not have what a large hotel brand have, but they'll have the hospitality. They're not going to abandon you. They're not going to kick you out. Right. So if you can't pay, they're not going to say, hey, we have to leave. They're just, it's not going to happen. They'll say, hey, stay, come to my house, stay here, whatever. But they're not going to kick you out. So it's, in my opinion, either way, you're still going to be just fine. Yeah, so...
And I like the idea of that more kind of personal attention, for sure, with the riad. And, people, the owners, they're there. Yes, like, absolutely. There's kind of a relationship there, as opposed to a big hotel with, 300 rooms or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree, yes.
Yeah. If you were ever questioned by the police, by security, for whatever reason, especially, again, we're talking there's some kind of crisis happening, but if you're ever questioned, what should people do? How should they react to a situation like that?
Just smile, because when you smile, you put everybody at ease. It's funny. This is the last tour that happened to us. When I say those cases, I'm telling you the truth, and I don't sugarcoat anything, and I just say it how it comes to me. It was me, and we had the photographers with us throughout the tour, and we were 4 in the car, and one of them, he didn't have his seatbelt in, and he was sitting in the back. and there were two officers, the checkpoints again that we talk about, and he saw them, and we were just talking, but it never crossed his mind that he need to put his seatbelt on before they pulled us over. So they did pull us over, and we just started talking. We started laughing, say, hey, one of them say, hey, you come with me, I need to talk to you. Then one of the officers stayed with us while the other officer took, Yusuf with him. So we were talking and having just fun, just laughing. It didn't feel like, it's a police officer. We felt like he was a friend, and we were just having good conversation and talking and having fun. Then we said, hey, is it okay for us to come out of the car? We just want to talk to the other officer. And say, yeah, just go and talk. And it's like, hey, we started having fun. Again, I like to make fun of situations. I like just to entertain, if you would. And the funny thing, you get a ticket. I think it's a $20 ticket or $15 ticket. So behind the scene, Yusuf, paid his dues. And he started laughing with the police officer. We started, all of us laughing. And then at the end, they were like, hey, you guys are so much fun. Can we go with you in the car? So he was like, we made our day. It's the end of our shift. And we just, it was just so funny. But that's the way that I would look at it, because those guys are under a lot of stress, and they don't want to cause anybody any trouble. They tell you, your ticket is $15. You can pay it, up front. You'll get a receipt, or if you want to go to the court, you can do so. And, we just negotiate, and everything is negotiable in Morocco. So, yes. and that's it. The same thing. Somebody stops you, they have questions, just smile. And by the way, you said Americans, this happens to me all the time when I go, especially in the square, especially somewhere. I'm just walking, and people, they know that, you're coming from America, whether the way that you walk, the way that you dress, the way that you speak, your accent, even though we don't think we have accents, they know you're, America or Canada. And it's like, how do you know? It's like, yeah, you guys are more polite. So it's, it's incredible. It's, again, I hope you won't cancel your reservation, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the key message here. I mean, we have to stay vigilant and aware, of course, of what things are happening, but we're talking to you here again in April 2026, and as things stand right now, as it applies to Morocco, things are stable, things are okay. Yes. And, I mean, there's broader questions about travel in general, and a lot of that comes back to prices, for sure. We're going to see prices go up, and perhaps insurance rates, things too, so there's lots to consider, but we really wanted to focus today on safety and that peace of mind factor. I don't know if I told you, my brother is taking his family on this round-the-world tour, travel for like 6 months. They spend a bunch of time in China, and they were in Egypt when this conflict broke out, and then they went to Turkey. They just left Turkey like yesterday to take a ferry to Greece, and then they're going on through Europe. So, this whole time we're like, well, especially last month, I mean, geez, how are you guys feeling over there? And I mean, they're even in Egypt, they're far enough away. I mean, it's a lot closer than Morocco for sure. But you kind of go about your day. You just stay aware, stay vigilant, have a backup plan, make sure people know where you are. Absolutely. And otherwise enjoy your time. I mean, it was even the same on our trip 3 years ago, because that was when the war was really breaking out in Gaza and Ukraine, of course, Yes. And same thing. I mean, Jesus, it's going to spill over to Europe and Portugal, where we were. I mean, you're aware of it. You keep an eye on the news for sure, but you got to carry on with your plans if at all possible. So we did, and I'm very, very glad we went. So
absolutely.
Yeah, everyone's got to make their own decision, of course, but we just wanted to give people that information here. And
absolutely.
Last thing, can people reach out to you, of course, and questions, emails if they have concerns? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Again, like I said, when you're traveling with us, I am aware. I get the reports. I know where you're at every day. I'm in contact with the drivers. We know what's going on, the changes of the itinerary, if there's any, the plans, the bookings and everything else. I may not just be texting you or calling you every day, but I just want you to immerse yourself in that experience and have so much fun. But I always recommend, just communication is extremely important. Just let your family know where you're at, let your friends know where you're at, and just Before those things, you need to do them before you get to Morocco. And even when you get to Morocco, if you feel unsafe, let us know. If you feel unsafe, let your driver know, let your guide know. If you're by yourself, traveling on your own, you feel unsafe, go to the next police station. They are close by. The police officers are literally everywhere, and they speak the language. If they don't speak the language, they'll grab somebody in less than maybe 30 seconds that speaks English. Safety is very important. You are very important. So do the best that you can to be vigilant, obviously. But if you have a concern, just don't keep it quiet. Just talk to somebody. Especially when you're a solo traveler traveling in a crowded Medina, crowded cities. Just talk to somebody. Get somebody involved if you feel unsafe. So.
Good. That's good advice.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. And hey, if things change, if there's more updates, I'm sure we'll be back and do another one of these. But it's been good to go over it here today.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you, Ted. Always a pleasure having you as a guest. And thank you to the listeners. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you're still thinking about Morocco, which you should, reach out to us. We'll answer the questions for you. Is it, we'll make recommendations to go, not to go. For me, it's always a go. So, and thank you for listening. Have an amazing day. You've heard the stories from the travelers here at the podcast. You felt the rhythm of the Medina through your headphones. And now, I want to personally welcome you into the fray. I am hosting an exclusive small group Imperial Cities tour for just 12 of our listeners. 8 days of deep culture, hidden gems, and the Morocco I know by heart. This isn't just a tour. It is a seat at our table. Space is very limited, so visit destinationsmorocco.com and book your spot today.